Good morning, ladies. Good afternoon. Hi. I'm so excited. We have our first guest speaker. Woohoo! Hey, Megan. I am just waiting just one second because sometimes it takes people a minute. And then I gave you co-host access, so you'll be able to share your screen. Let me know if you can't for any reason. Give me one sec. Okay, let's see what I look like. Is everyone ready? Drum roll.
That's
Oh, that doesn't work. Hold on. Oh, that's funny. Uh-oh. Hold on one second.
how we could see you. We can't hear you.
I had to crawl under my desk. I thought my camera was off, but there it is. Hello. Yeah, do you guys see my craziness right now? This is what happens when you come back from a weekend of, well, a week, 2 weeks of chaotic life. But who likes my hat? It's like my hat. Merch is coming. Merch is
Love that.
coming. Again, I am in the new office and I had to take my computer and it's still a chaotic mess here. So let's just chaos to control tomorrow. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get situated. The whole point is that there are seasons of chaos, and I'm sure Megan's gonna talk about this today too, but we don't want to stay there, right? So it's okay to have seasons. It's not okay for it to become chronic and to just become what life is like. So, anyways, for those of you that are off camera, if you can get on camera, obviously we want to see your beautiful faces, but I'm super excited to introduce Megan. I met Megan at BU Brand Live, which is an event that my good friend Ati Greenspan hosts every year around September. So y'all will hear about that, and hopefully you can come to Vegas then if you're not coming to All In Week anyways in April. But she is incredible, and she has something really, really awesome for us today. And like I mentioned before, we want to start bringing in some guests because as much as you love to hear me all day long, we want to bring in some people who are experts at what they do. And Megan, I'm going to have you just introduce yourself because I still have so many people joining, which is awesome. And I'm just going to be in the background for tech. And as you go through, we will hopefully have enough time for Q&A. So please, as you're listening, if there's any questions, like write them down so we can ask. You can also obviously ask your questions in the chat and then we will um, get to that too. And let me pin you so we see your beautiful face really big. Hi. And then
Hi.
go ahead and introduce yourself and do all the things. Let's see. Are you muted?
I don't think so. Can you hear
Oh,
me
yeah, I
okay?
can hear you. Okay, good. Everyone
Okay.
else can hear, see all the things. So take it away. You can share when you're ready and just let us know a little bit about you. And we'll go from there. Super cash,
Awesome.
like just have fun.
Yeah. And so I keep myself in check. What should we like? Give me a time.
So typically they're from 10 to 11. I always go over.
Okay.
If somebody has to jump off, they got to do their thing. It is recorded, so they'll watch it. So as long as we have something to talk about and you can hang on, I would say till 11 at 30 at the most. But yeah, we've got
Yeah,
to.
and I'll keep it under that for sure so that we allow because I'll be jumping off at like 10:50. So I'll leave time for questions. Absolutely.
Sounds good.
And if there is something pressing, please put it in the chat. I think you can see the chat.
Mhm.
I can't, for some reason, I can't see the chat.
It's okay. I'll let you know if there's any questions.
Okay, perfect. So awesome. Thanks. I needed that. I can talk all day about this topic. So it's so nice to meet everyone, and I'm so excited to come in and chat. My name is Megan Alves. I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I have been working in the mental health field for over a decade. So I just aged myself just a little bit, but I have a huge passion in mental health, but overall, I love trauma work. I'm a trauma therapist, but I have noticed a huge gap in our mental health, physical health, overall well-being. So I really look at mental health as a very holistic view. And so I'm when it comes to trauma work, all the way to nutrition, that's what we talk about when it comes to the type of therapy that I do. So I started my journey in psychiatric work, so highest of the crisis level that you can see, and that really blossomed my passion in mental health. But I decided to open up a private practice so I can meet clients where they're at. And I've ran Peak Mental Health for the last almost 3 years. And I noticed one of the things in mental health that was really missing is a lot of the education side that I would hear clients almost on a weekly basis say, Megan, I just wish I knew this information. And I designed Mental Summit now, which is a membership program for the education side of mental health. So everywhere from goal setting to deeper understanding of trauma to how to prioritize yourself. It has everything in Mental Summit's membership with different modules, and it's designed for the busy human. So none of my videos are over 10 minutes, which I think has been really helpful for a lot of my clients to just go back and see what they're struggling with. But I really one of the things that I wanted to bring in today is so Peak Mental Health and Mental Summit, you can find me on Instagram, by the way. So if there's, by the time we end our conversation today, and if there's anything that you have questions about, or if something stands out that you're like, Megan, I would love more resources about that, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm a social worker by nature, so or by trade. And so I love to research and help you guys find the answers. So please take note of that if, come back to me later if you need to. But one of the things that before I kind of like jump into the importance of checking in with ourselves and prioritizing yourself and your mental health, I would love if you guys can open up your mic and give me a little idea of how you started your morning, what's going well, what are some of the struggles, and I would just love to kind of gauge where you guys are with prioritizing yourself and how things are going, as I know this group is a group of amazing women doing big things. So if anybody feels comfortable enough opening up their mics, I think I can see most of anyone. And if you don't feel comfortable talking out loud, the chat will help too.
These ladies
How
know
did
if
your
they don't, I will pick them out and make them talk. I
And
can
I'm
definitely just
trained
chime
in
in real quick.
silence.
Like, I woke up this morning and I was just like, God, I feel so excited because I have you coming and it's something new. And Tuesdays at 10 a.m. for me is like my favorite time to show up with these ladies because they are all incredible and they inspire me every single day. And then the clock just kept going. And I'm like, oh, I got to get people to school and I need to feed little ones and I need to make their lunch and all of the things. And I was like, what do I want to wear today? And I'm like, okay, I really want to be comfortable. So I'm just in leggings and like a little sweater. But then it was hot out. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to love this. And like just the day started going, right?
Yeah.
And the clock was running and the kids were not moving fast enough for my liking. And things just started getting escalated. And I started raising my voice and all the things. And we were late
Yeah.
to school, which isn't typical actually. So it was a very chaotic morning for me because I also had to pack up everything I had for the weekend and bring it to the office. And I haven't been here since a week ago. So I walked in and I'm like, oh, I left it a disarray, which also is not typical for me. So this morning was kind of not normal, but walking in, like I took a minute and I was like, okay, let's take a second
Nice.
and just rewrite the things that I got to get done today and like let's turn this around. And so that's kind of how my morning went. And again, is kind of why I went on in the beginning and said, look, it's okay to have seasons of chaos. Like I give myself grace and I know that, but I am huge now in making sure I don't get stuck there. So being curious about why did I get to this place? Is this a season? How do I make sure I don't stay here? How do I make sure tomorrow's a little bit different? But also tapping back into my excitement of being here today and like what were the things that I was happy to wake up to, and also getting back grounded to having some gratitude for what is happening today. So that's my morning. Who else?
I love that.
Ada.
That's gonna, yeah.
Hey, Sally. I just know your voice.
Hey, how are you? Y'all know my mornings are just as crazy as all my days, but I do try to start with, I get up early and start with quiet time. Usually I read my Bible and just kind of make a mental note or notes about what I need to tackle that day. And I try to do my important meetings first thing in the morning because by noon on, I'm pretty much a scattered disaster. There's zero brain cells left there. So anything that is important or consistent, I try to schedule first thing in the morning. So
I love that. And you just hit on something so important that I think, especially as busy women, that we often forget, and our schedule can be dictated at times by other little humans or our to-do list, is learning when we function at our highest vibration or our highest energy. And so for you to mention that I get kind of like those important meetings and those higher energy tasks in the morning, I would venture to say, like, kudos to you knowing that that's when your energy feels at its fullest. And going back to what you said, Cassie, about, okay, when my I had to reframe my morning and I jumped on gratitude. Ladies, please take note. I know it sounds cliche and it's all the rave of like, okay, gratitude, gratitude, but there's so much research about shifting our mindset when things just get overwhelming and chaotic to like jump back to that gratitude. And I can jump on a research tangent for a while, but I won't. So I would love to hear. But if anybody needs a research on that topic, let me know. But I would love to hear a couple more if you guys are open on how this morning went, what went well, and if anybody's brave enough saying where your struggles were.
I can share as well. Um, I start off every morning with I have a workout area in my garage. So I'll go try to wake up before the kids get up, work out, and have that time. And then I got my kids up and I thought I had it all together with saying, like, okay, this is what's for breakfast. And my daughter found out recently she needs to be gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free. So it's been fun with meals. She hated the oatmeal. Then that led to a fit about she hates her coat and she's freezing. And it was just like all of a sudden the world was ending with her. And then my son woke up and didn't want to get dressed. And then it was just a battle with both of them and then getting out the door. So it was like I wake up with the best of intentions, thinking it's going to go great. Everything's going to be smooth. And then I'm thrown off
Kids.
track, and yeah, and then I have to like drop them off and then go back to the house, and I wanted to just come in the office after and go finish get myself together because I had to spend the time dealing with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And thanks for, I think for any of us, I'm not sure how many moms we have here, or if, like that season can be so challenging when it comes to, I had best of intention. I was so excited about, the breakfast that I had for my little one. And then it just went to shit and their energy was in a totally different area than mine was. And really that's, part of this check-in is how do I get back on track and rewrite my morning when my energy was just flipped for the last 10 minutes to an hour, depending on how long our kids are in that zone,
More
right?
so an hour.
Yeah.
Didn't even
Yeah.
get a
And
goodbye as she's getting out the door going to school.
that's the worst. And so, Brittany, let me ask you, was there something that stood out or anything that you can say helped you shift your mindset after all that energy? Or did you stay pretty dysregulated for
She
a
went to
while?
school and now I'm good.
Got rid of the problem.
The energy was gone and I was able to shift.
Yeah, now I have until 3:30 until I have to deal with her again. Yeah,
Right.
hopefully she has a better attitude by then.
I'm gonna send energy your way. I hope she gets in a better mood too. If not, I'm sure you have some power
Yeah.
in you. And we'll talk about some of those preventative measures too, especially when it comes to being busy moms or, busy entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs is the preventative measure. In mental health, oftentimes we talk about safety plans. And I think that it's really important that we think about being preventative rather than reactive to situation. And more times than not, that's like I think I saw in the chat a second ago, like kids can just spiral it, right? Because oftentimes their developmental stage, they don't have the tools yet to be able to access some of that ability to calm the nervous system, right? Like it sounds like as soon as that oatmeal was like disgusting and she wasn't in the mood for it, then it was the jacket and then it was her hair and I'm just adding some things in there, knowing very well how that can just spiral into the things where the executive function is having a hard time coming online. And even for us as adults, if we're not really checking in on ourselves and oftentimes have, kind of some buffers in there to help that nervous system calm back down. As Cassie, you mentioned this morning, like the kids started going and all of a sudden you were yelling and you're like, why am I even yelling? Like, how did they get me this disrate? Like, I would venture to say, I don't like that response that was elicited out of me. And so having some of these check-ins with yourself and then knowing, okay, if the kids are dysregulated, what can I do to calm myself for a second? I often say I have to put myself in timeout for 30 seconds, just get away from their energy, and then I'm able to come back into it. And that's kind of like the safety plan. What check-in and safety plans do we have to help us? And you mentioned something, Brittany, just then is, you know what? I have from I don't know what time you drop her off, but I'm venturing to say around 7:30 to 3:30. During that time, that's me time. I can recharge my own battery. What do I do to recharge my own battery so that by 3:30, whatever energy she is in, I can still regulate in my own. And I want to say calm, but that's like, rainbows and butterflies sometimes. But um we'll touch base on that too. Anybody else itching to share before we go into our adult checklist?
I was just gonna comment in the chat, but like I think, I associate like my team members and sometimes my clients like my kids, just because it's easy for me to understand, not because they're children, but like just that whole dynamic and that relationship is just easy to associate. But I also noticed yesterday we went to the doctor, and then after that I took them to go get something to eat, and it was so nice because I was actually calm. And I noticed that the more I was regulated, they reacted to that energy. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so nice to like go have a meal with you guys. That hasn't happened in a long time, right? Like, and they're still little, but the same thing with our team and with our clients, like they react to our energy. And even more, our not necessarily our clients, which is important, but like our team. If you are bringing people on and working with them, if you are constantly negative, if you are constantly in chaos, if you're leading them with that energy, they're going to follow with that energy, which is also really important as leaders that we can regulate that and we can make sure that we show up the way we need to so that they can emulate that as well, right? Because I think even like with our team, if they start spiraling, then sometimes we'll spiral with them. And instead of being that safety place and being regulated and not reacting all the time, I have team members that come to me all the time about like all the chaotic things that might be happening. And if I feed into that, then I'm almost saying like, yeah, this is okay, instead of being that like safe place to be like, okay, well, let's actually take a look at what's going on. And, I have to also be that person for them, which is hard for us to do when we are also having issues regulating ourselves, right? So I think this all entails with everything that we have to deal with on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's a solid point. I'm gonna just kind of like side note what I was gonna like jump into because I think oftentimes for ourselves, for our kids, for team, is I often think about, and I can always send this over if you guys want to have a visual with this, but there is a model called the hand brain model to help us remember what our actual 0 to 10 is. And honestly, if you guys, I know some of you guys are doing some work too, but if you can, just look at the screen for a second. And I just want you to hold your hand up and I want you to tuck your thumb right into your hand. And I want you to think about this as your brain, okay? And this is calm, cool, and collected. This is regulated. The top part of my brain, the bottom part of my brain, and my reasoning factor is actually communicating well. And when it comes to what I'm going to talk about with the PLEASE acronym, I want you to think about, in order for us to access reasoning, our brain has to be communicating well enough for us to access that reasoning factor so that we're not yelling, right? Usually our lid starts to flip. And this is something that I often share with kids, and it helps myself to remember, if this is my 0, what does my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 look like? And kids can really, this is really beneficial, and you guys can have a common, vocabulary with saying, my lid is flipped. I need to take a break because somehow I got to get my brain back online in order for me to actually make solid decision-making skills. And this comes with anybody who has a team as well. If somebody is dysregulated or they function, right? Like maybe they come in and they're functioning on 5, and that system is not communicating well, you go and give direction and that lid can just flip for your leader or like your team or your kids. I mean, this can be used for anybody. Knowing what your 0 to 10 looks like is so important, and same for anybody that you conversate with, so that if they don't know, you don't know, and you're not sure how to help them, they're not sure how to ask you for help. And so I want you to think about, with that flipping of the lid, one of the biggest, I would say, one of the biggest downfalls is not understanding what your own 0 to 10 looks like. And so for many of us, especially, as we're going into the office after we drove to the office, or after we had the breakdown with the kids and then we get to the office, I would even say, let me just throw out a statistic. I want to say that a drive and getting like cut off as you're driving can take our brain up to 70 minutes to actually calm itself back down after being dysregulated. That's a long time. And so the more that you can kind of name it to tame it, to say, okay, I had a dysregulated morning. The kids were, I went into the office and it was chaotic. My office feels chaotic. What can I do to get my lid back to calm so that my reasoning factor can actually come in to help me? And so I guess homework and assignment is get curious with yourself to learn what your 0 to 10 is, so that you can really start to understand, man, when I'm at a 3 and my heart is racing and my palms start to sweat, I know that that's a really good warning sign for me to check in with myself. And I'll just use, your morning this morning, Cassidy, and saying, okay, when the kids started to yell, I noticed my heart was racing, and like I started to notice my jaw clenching, right? This is going to take a lot of self-reflection, but it comes with practice. And then you could say, okay, I'm going to go take a deep breath because I know that I'm already starting. So I'm already starting to dysregulate, whatever that may be. You might not even be able to name the emotion as kiddos freaking out and you're trying to regulate. But if you can notice those physical responses and get yourself out of the situation just for a little bit of time, regulate a little bit, allowing that lid to calm back down, more than likely you can gain the control, like you said, so that you're not responding in a way that's going to continue to dysregulate the home system or the office system. Is there anything that you ladies have that is your go-to to bring that lid back down? And if you're like, I got nothing, that's totally okay. What is your go-to? Reading. Yeah. And if you're in a stressful or like a busy situation, do you use audiobooks if you can't quite bring the book? Does that help it? Reading only. Give me the book. And so, yes. Yeah, let me have something. And that hits on a lot of levels. Cleaning, yep. Music, you guys, music, there's a great resource out there. There's actually an app that I can add in there for mental health and music, actually creating your own playlist that can help the nervous system to regulate. Have a playlist, right? If you're up here, and I don't know if anybody still loves the screamo music, it's not going to help that nervous system to regulate. So have the different playlists. That's a great way to be preventative with some of that. A hype song, yeah. Taking a walk, yeah. Get out in nature, right? A scorching bath, yeah. Cleanse all of this. Burn this layer off. Cleaning, glass of wine, sitting on the floor of my closet, alone time, driving. Yeah, I miss having that 20-minute drive home to zone out. Yep, driving. So a lot of us, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of great healthy coping skills to help that come back online. Glass of wine, yep. But be mindful with that one that the glass of wine isn't turning into the 3 glasses of wine, like healthy versus in moderation. If I'm driving for a half hour versus driving for 2 hours to escape all the things, be mindful with some of that too. And so I hope that 0 to 10 is helpful. I can definitely send that little handout over if anybody needs it. And so does anybody struggle in an area of calm when things feel chaotic and you can just kind of like put it in, like, what is your top struggle when it comes to trying to regulate yourself in a situation? I'm trained in sitting in silence, so I'll sit here. But
I
I
would
would love to
definitely
hear.
say for me, it's like just shutting the brain off. Like, how do you just shut it the hell up? Like, even if
Yeah.
that's just like you don't notice you're in dysregulation and you like go to sleep and then you're waking up at 2 in the morning and it's like baka 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 baka, like, and the worst part is I'm like, why is it repeating the list 20 times over and over? Like, I literally yell at myself. I'm like, you already said that 10 times. Okay, why does my brain feel like it needs to repeat, like be in a loop of repeating itself? So I think for me, it's
Mm.
definitely like just shutting the brain down and being able to get out of that. But it's almost like being in a crowded restaurant. You hear all the voices. Like, how do I get
Yeah.
to a place where I'm in the library and I can focus on what actually needs to get done so that then I'm executing and not having so much of that dysregulation?
Yeah, yeah. I love that. And I think a couple of people said same, sitting quiet. I beg for people to put me in timeout. Seriously, right? We didn't want to be in timeout as kids, but gosh, as adults, please put me in timeout. Like, give me 10 minutes in my room staring at a wall. I wouldn't be mad about that. Yeah. And so when it comes to, and I'm going to come back and answer that because I think, and it just to answer the question right now, I think a really great way is to learn how to practice setting worry time and setting brain busy time, actually scheduling that time. There's a lot of science behind that. And you can, I mean, as you put a to-do list on your schedule, setting your own worry time or busy time or whatever you want to title it, and set it for, start with 10 minutes and see how that feels. But that's setting a boundary in your day that you have to actively practice. If I'm in that busy mode all day and my brain is functioning or I'm worried about all the things, it's an actual practice that, you know what, brain, I'm going to write this down. So use your notes app, have however you take notes on that to-do list, have something beside you that you write it down, and then you get back to it at the scheduled time that you allowed that brain to just run wild. And for some of you, it might be setting like 2 periods throughout the day to start with, so it doesn't feel too restrictive. This isn't like my brain running on go is a bad thing. It's just about getting curious. if I want more control over how fast my brain is functioning and I can't turn it off, then it's about learning ways to set boundaries around how much that go is allowed and when, so that you're gaining control back over those worries or those emotions or that to-do list rather than it having the control over you. And I won't sugarcoat it. That practice is not an easy one, but it takes time. So it's really about being consistent with it and exploring what works for you. So call it worry time, call it your busy time, but schedule it on in your day. And when in your day that you notice the brain just won't turn off and it's not a productive time for it to be on, write down what it is, close it, and then take a few deep breaths. Allow yourself to say, okay, at 2 o'clock, that's going to be the time that I can go back to all of this that I have to do. And I'm going to just put a little asterisk there, is that please don't do it before bed. Your bedtime is your sanctuary. Please create that space that you leave that worry outside of the room, you leave the to-do list outside of the room, creating that space so that when you go into that bedtime, it's your space. Because although we've talked about in the morning, really prioritizing what happens when you go to bed is just as important. So in the sake of time, I'm going to just share my screen, and I'm going to, and I can absolutely hand this over to anyone
I did
that would like.
put is it the please method? Yep,
Yep.
I put it in the chat. If I'll put it in again because some people had to come in and jump out just in case you don't see it, but I'll put it in right
Perfect.
now.
Can everybody see my screen? There we
Yes.
go. Okay, so simply, this is actually comes from a DBT, which is dialectical behavioral technique or therapy. And it comes from a clinical backed research based version, but I've done a little twist on it. And it's something that I feel is really beneficial for those of us that want to be able to have better emotion regulation. And so I just want you to think about, please check in with yourself. The acronym is PLEASE. First and foremost is you want to think about how things are going with your physical health. Physical health, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if I have the flu, I am not functioning on 10, and that has to be my priority at that time, right? And so taking care of any physical elements, if anybody has, anything pressing when it comes to physical illnesses or physical health, please put that as your priority, right? It's kind of like having your gas tank on empty, and that, beautiful blinking light is saying that you need to fill up. I want you to really think about physical illness as that gas tank on E. In order to function as best as we can, that's where you've got to fill up first. And so make those primary care physician appointments. If those aren't working, I mean, I'm a huge advocate for functional medicine, especially for us busy women, and the hormone shifts, is get curious about that. I know that might be another strain at the belt loop, but one of the questions that I often ask is, what things can you do to ensure you're taking care of your physical health, physical illnesses? And if you guys can just shout out one or two things, how do you prioritize your physical health? You don't have to disclose any illnesses if you're not comfortable, but what do you do to take care of your physical health or any illnesses?
I'll chime in just to start, but like for me, it's just getting movement every day for 30 minutes, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Like even last night before bed, I literally just laid on the rug in the living room and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna move my body. I don't know what that even looks like. I'm just gonna let my body tell me. And I went into like somatic stretching, whatever. That's all I could do yesterday, and it helped me go to sleep well. The other thing that I do is I actually prioritize getting blood work done every 6 months. And
Yes.
thankfully, nothing, has come up. The only thing that I do now, and I only know this because I did it, is that I have a vitamin D deficiency, which I think I've talked to you guys about
Huge.
before. But now I take
Yes.
vitamin D, and it's like I literally
It's
feel
a game
reborn.
changer.
I'm like, oh my God, like this was what it was. Thank God it wasn't anything worse. But like sometimes it's simple things we don't realize. And then I also started taking AG1, which I'm drinking right now, to help with something easy I can do, which probably goes into the eating piece, but to just help with my gut. Because if you don't know, you should know by now, but everything starts with our gut. Our gut actually at the event this weekend, I was talking about this is so random, but I was talking about how lately every time I eat, I get hiccups. And there was a doctor there, and they were like saying that it could be this. And they're like, it also causes all these things. And I'm like, I've been concerned lately that like I might have arthritis because I'm having like aches and pains in my hands. And they were like, yeah, it can cause arthritis, it can cause this. And I'm like, oh my God. So if I just fix this potential gut thing that I can check with my blood work, I would feel better in this thing, right? So a lot of things trickle
Yeah.
into our gut health and just like what can you do regularly, even at a minimum, to just make sure you're prioritizing your health. And I'm a big person
Yes.
of let's make sure we get these routines in and let's put them into our lives. And even at a minimum, what could that look like? So for me, it's like moving every day for 30 minutes and then making sure I get my blood work done every 6 months, which a doctor didn't even say I needed to do that, right? We have to be our own advocates for that. So
Yep.
I think that's just something that I've been trying to do regularly, to just
You hit
do the best I
on
can.
so many levels, and I think I mean, that just shows how important, right? You went from movement to doctor's appointments to blood work. I mean, there's still countries right now that women do not have access to their own medical health records. And I often think like just sitting in that gratitude for a moment and realizing just how privileged we are in those areas to advocate for our health and follow up on our medical health and really be able to advocate for that blood work check. If you're feeling off, getting curious about it, asking questions, changing doctors if you need to. And yeah, I mean, those were so many beautiful nuggets. I hope, if that stands out to anybody, and if you guys need help, kind of where do I start with this? Because sometimes it just feels so huge. I really just want to please write it down that small steps can make huge impact over time, right? Like I remember when I first started my health journey and getting movement as part of my schedule, I was one of those people. And I mean, Cassie and I have talked about this. I mean, in high school, I failed gym. I hated exercise. And in order for me to make change and get my health on track, I realized that by moving from 0 to 5,000 steps, even, or I mean, we can even go lower than that. There's huge research out there that it can decrease depression and anxiety. And some of those research studies are around 30 to 40% just by increasing those steps. So please don't minimize how much small steps can add. And making those doctor appointments are so important. Eating, you said it beautifully, is that our gut health is so important. The energy that we're putting in is the energy that we're going to get out. So if we're honestly dysregulated in our emotions quite a bit, this is such a beautiful area to start to get curious about, right? Nothing good, bad, right, or wrong, just curiosity without judgment, please, because we really live in a society that it's hard to get on top of this stuff, but small steps will add up. And oftentimes, I hear, around January, like, Megan, I'm going to do all of this stuff. And then we fall flat come like mid-February, but it's really creating lifestyle changes. And so small things, right? Like checking in with those supplements. How can I get, vitamin D from my food, from my sun, from getting out, like, getting curious with that can really help to impact your overall mental well-being as well. And I mean, I can talk for a long time. I have additional certification in nutrition for mental health, and it is a huge passion. And I mean, there's tons of research out there for anxiety, depression, even bipolar and mood disorders due to different types of supplemental needs that aren't getting met in the body, nutritional needs that aren't getting met in the body. So, moving on to A is being mindful. I mean, we talked about the wine, the glass of wine, but those mood altering substances. And I often say here is that when we talk about eating, sometimes if we decrease on, alcohol or, drugs, hopefully nobody here is struggling, but if anybody is, please reach out. Let's get you that support for sure. But oftentimes it could be that your body is seeking those dopamine hits and we're not sure how to find that joy or to manage the to-do list in the life. And so it's so common to see those mood altering substances come into play in order to cope. And so find your why. If I want to feel better in my day, if I want to feel more motivated in my day, what's gonna, and I often say, pardon my language, but motivation is bullshit most of the time, because I'm not going to feel motivated every day to get movement. I'm not going to feel motivated every day if I'm tired to go eat a salad instead of, the junk food that's calling my name. But that consistency is going to be the main factor over that motivation. But when I talk about this topic, I think it's important to really find, why is this important for you to feel better? Why is it important for me to have more emotion regulation? Do I want a better relationship with my team? Do I want a better relationship with my family and my kids? Because I don't want my kids remembering me as the mom who dysregulates all the time. I was one that was raised in a household that our first language was yelling. So I had to relearn and rewire how I responded in situations that dysregulated me, even at the lowest sense. And so finding the why over all of this, but especially if you have a vice when it comes to mood altering substances, and sometimes that vice can be food, right? Sugar. Find why eliminating or decreasing that or finding alternatives is important to you. And I would love to hear, if you guys can put in the chat, what's important to me? Why is it important for me to regulate my emotions more? And I'll get to the chat after, but sleep, is huge. And so making sure we need around 7 hours of sleep. Some of us can function a little bit on 6.5 hours, but 7 to 8 hours of sleep would be beautiful for us moms with kids that don't sleep well. Sometimes it's kind of like a miracle, but get curious about your sleep. Get curious about your sleep patterns. What are you doing before bed? Research shows if we're on tech 2 hours before, it actually can take us up to 2 hours to get into that REM sleep and actually help that nervous system to calm down. So get curious about your sleep. How can I improve the sleep, especially if I want to function better and have better emotion regulation? And we've already touched on exercise and how important exercise is. If you're not someone who loves exercise, find things that bring you joy. If it's dancing in your room alone, if it is stretching. I love how you said earlier, I didn't know exactly what I needed, but I just knew I needed to move my body. Getting curious is such a beautiful aspect when it comes to exercise, because it's just going to layer on. If we're treating it like another to-do list and we're not finding joy in it, please rework it. Please get curious and just ask yourself, what can I do to increase movement through my day? Can I park further away from my office to increase my steps? Can I use the stairs instead of the elevator or the escalator? Whatever. Getting curious really starts to add up, and the impact that movement has on our mental health, I hope that we continue to talk about, but I will scream it on the top of a mountain every day of how important movement is. Even just 30 minutes a day, elevating that heart rate can really impact your overall regulation. And so I'm going to stop sharing. And, this is really what I wanted to kind of go over in these last 10 minutes or so. I would love to open it up to any questions, concerns, anything that stood out to you. I'm going to go to the chat and see if there's anything there. Exercise and functional medicine. Yeah. We've got to find you a functional medicine doctor, come on and chat about some stuff. If anybody, it's beautiful work. It's not easy to find. Peloton, yeah, decent sleep, movement, sunshine. Yes, please get your sunshine, especially right now. If anybody's in Vegas, we know that this sunshine is going to be burning our skin soon. Probiotics, huge. Check in with that gut health. Pre and probiotics are really good. See, airborne greens. Yes. Eliminated all electronics. in the bedroom recently and found I am sleeping better. I am celebrating that huge for you. It is not easy for us busy parents, and sometimes we use an excuse to calm down. And it just takes a practice, right? Setting that boundary with yourself. Okay, I think I saw quite a bit of them. Yeah, see us on our phones, modeling, right? Something I totally need to do. This is also something I have been saying to my husband and my kids. They see us on the phone, we're modeling for them. Thankfully, some of you, like said, reading, so you have that habit of grabbing the book instead of, the phone, just getting curious with that. So, any questions, concerns, anything that stood out today, or anything that you're taking with you to like start to get curious about? I'd love to hear.
I think it would be awesome. I just put in the chat too, like maybe we can all pick one area of the please method and just try to see if we can add in some healthier habits. Something that has really helped me is also like habit stacking, where you try to find those pockets of time that you have throughout your typical day. Where can you? So when I'm now making my coffee, I'm making my AG one. Where some of us even have like sit stand desks we've talked about, and like we're putting the treadmill under the desk and we're multitasking, but we're getting our steps in. Like for me, since June of last year, switching from reading business books to reading fiction, that helps my mind, actually does help. It does help quiet down. I can't in that moment necessarily like get rid of the noise and then productively think or be reasonable, if you will, but it does just give me a break. So reading more fiction has actually really helped me, and that's kind of my go-to of, okay, there's too much noise going around, like let me listen to a book or read a book that takes me to another place, right?
I love that. And I want to like put in there something that could be really helpful is, especially in an era that I feel like the pressure is like go bigger, go faster, go stronger, do more, make more. And so it constantly feels, and this was not coined my term, but it's something that, please share and please write it down, is I'm safe being a human being and I don't always have to be a human doing. And I think that that was such a huge impact for, any of us. I mean, most of you women are in this room because you are women, want to be doing. And it's okay to just be a being. And it's so important to just be present sometimes, to allow that nervous system to calm and to just be present.
Yeah, it's kind of like also saying like be present where your feet are, right? Like if you're sitting there worrying about things that aren't even happening at the moment, or like Brittany, for example, right? It's like if you're sitting here worrying about what your child's attitude is going to be at 3:30, you're not present being where you are right now because there's nothing you can do about it this moment. Right? What you could do is regulate yourself so you're prepared, but it's like you are now in a place of an office or working or what that looks like. Like, how do you productively be present where you're at as opposed to being in the future? And I think, I don't know, you all can let us know in the chat too. I am someone who definitely is more anxious. I live in the future more. And, I've worked on that a lot, where some people live in the past and they're worried about things that have already happened and it's not serving you in this moment right now. And all we have is this moment. That's it. That's all we can control. So how can you be that human being and not that, if you are a human that's doing, but not thinking about doing beyond where you are in the moment. So
And
yeah.
if anybody struggles, to be present in that moment where your feet are, a great step to that is think about your five senses. What do I hear? What do I see? What can I touch? What do I smell? What can I taste? As many of those five senses to bring you centered can help you kind of realign when the mind is just so busy. It can help, initiate the rest and digest, which will help that nervous system to calm down too.
Yeah. Do you, so another thing too that I've learned is like doing tapping. I actually haven't done tapping, but that's something too that helps. You're basically, and you can probably explain this better, but it's a mode of just like tapping places in your body or on your face or anywhere. It can be like a heart tap, chest tap, leg tap. And what it's doing is it's like telling your nervous system to like almost like reset, and you're mentally knowing like, okay, I'm spiraling or I'm somewhere else. Like, I don't know if that's something we can do at any moment. I know breath work is a big one. We actually have someone coming to do breath work with us. That like you can just take a deep breath. This doesn't cost you anything. You can do it at any moment. You can tap at any moment. Like ways to just get your ass out of that go, go, go mode and maybe
Yeah.
even back into the go mode, but more productively.
A quick one that tends to be really helpful for a lot of clients is called the 3-finger tap. And I'll scoot back a little bit and I guess we can end on this. If there's any other questions, please put them in the chat. But as I kind of close up this, if you guys can, everything that you're working on right now, if you can take a 30-second pause for yourself. And if you feel comfortable, I want you to close your eyes, but before you do, I just want you to take 3 fingers and you'll feel a tender part in between. It's almost at the center of your chest. You might get curious with it right now. This might be something new. And if you just start to tap, notice and close your eyes and just get curious this time around. And affirmations can be really important and beneficial with tapping. Often I use the sentence, I have everything I need in this moment. Take a big inhale in. Hold that in. Big exhale out a little bit longer. Just letting some free movement come in if you need it. Allowing your hands to just come down. And maybe just like with a thumbs up, sideways or down, did anyone notice like a shift? Yes. I don't know. That was weird. Nope. I don't know what that was. Yeah. So I think more thumbs up than anything. And know that like tapping or anything, oh, I love the heart, anything like that. Oftentimes, like deep breathing, breath work, they'll often say, like, our brain, if it's new to us, it might just be like, cool, you're breathing, right? Cool, you're tapping. What are you doing? Like, we do this all the time, or whatever it may be. Sometimes it is that, it's accessing a different part of your brain, and practice is so important so that it starts to connect to areas that say, this helps me to calm, this helped my nervous system calm, whatever elicit of that calm that came in. But that practice is so important. And that was under 30 seconds. And so oftentimes when I hear like, I just don't have time for myself, y'all, you're making time to show up here today. You made time to listen to me bring a ton of information, like celebrate that for yourself and know that putting that time on your schedule to prioritize yourself, even if it is 30 seconds a few times out of the day, it can really make a huge impact. Yeah, it always feels ridiculous before, but it can feel so nice to just let our body like, okay. And so thank you guys so much for having me today and thank you for practicing. Those of you that were able to practice that, 3-finger point tapping is amazing work. I can always come back and have an entire session on tapping and how to go through that. But again, thank you. You guys can find me on Instagram I think she already put that Mental Summit on Instagram, or feel free to go over to mymentalsummit.com. You can always send me an email there. And I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. I hope it's productive, but calm.
Thank you, Megan, so much. And we'll be in touch. Like, also, ladies, these are the type of women and the type of people that we want to also grow this membership with, where you see something different that they can bring to the table. But also, Megan is building her business. She's pivoted recently. She's doing all these things. And so, I mean, I definitely think that all the things that we offer in the membership with the rest of what we do every single week will benefit anybody. But this is kind of where it's like we can collaborate. We can find people that also I vetted, but that you get to know in the membership. And all of us have trauma. I don't care how bad you think your trauma is, whether it happened when you were a kid, whether it happened last week, like we're going through trauma right now. And it's really important for, again, you to get curious. How many times do I say that? Like, what do these things mean? Why are these things important to you? Because it's different for everyone. And so thank you, Megan, so much for coming. I'm going to stay on. So if anybody wants to stay on and we can continue chatting about this, maybe again, pick some stuff we can talk about, and go follow her and support her because she's also doing her thing and it's amazing. And I think it's such an important topic. And just to real quick clarify, you work with women who are high achievers,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's anybody that we kind of know. It doesn't matter if you're the corporate business owner, all the things. And, you know, I've worked on my mental health a lot, and it's always a continuing process. It's never something you just arrive at. We have things that we're going through. I'm turning 40 soon. I have these emotion things. I have these hormone things. Like the kids are at a different stage. My marriage is in a different phase. Like it, all of this stuff is so important. And we sometimes just try to go, and we try to just tackle business stuff and we always want to do more. But if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't do that. Right. So thanks, Meg. If you have to hop off, all good.
Thank
And I will send
you.
all these resources and stuff in the membership as well. But love you. Thanks,
Awesome.
babe.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye, sweetheart. Okay. So how did that feel? It's definitely different than what we do typically every week. I am going to be bringing in guests too that are a little bit more tactical in business sense, but y'all, this is what we need. We need all of it, right? Like, and just even this weekend at the event, when I did my event, I had somebody come in and do breath work. I had somebody come in and talk about mental health and talk about emotions and different things too, because we are not just one faceted, right? There's so many things. Like I even joked about how like everyone was loving my outfits this weekend, and then on Sunday, all I wanted to do was wear like the grossest sweat outfit. Like you can be this and this. And if you came to Unfiltered Experience, the conference we did, I literally made somebody tattoo the ampersand, what the fuck is it called? The and
Ampersand.
symbol on their arm, and they didn't even know what we were getting tattooed. Like she literally was blinded, and she's like, "I trust you." And but the whole point is like we are all these things. We are multifaceted, and we have to make sure we prioritize this stuff for our life as well. Because if we are not 100% as best we can be, we can't show up and be 100%. So a couple things that I wanted to also just like I wrote down some notes. Brene Brown, I don't know if you know her, but she had did this really viral video talking about when she comes home, her and her husband tend to like say, "Hey, I'm at 50, I'm at 90, I'm at 10." And they kind of give a number to like where their energy is at, their capacity is at, and they communicate. And sometimes they're both at a 10, but even just saying that, like, I'm on empty or I have a 50% gas tank, right? Knowing that the other person can either pick up some of the slack or even you being aware of where you're at. And another thing I actually saw yesterday is that if you're at 35%, and you did everything you could at 35%, you actually gave 100 of what you've got, right? So sometimes that's what it's at, and that's okay. But how do we work on our habits, like the please method, and try to get to 100% as much as we possibly can, right? So share thoughts. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I know this is kind of off topic. It's a little weird, and we're all in work, and like it's like, oh wait, she wants me to like stop doing what I'm doing and like talk about my health. Hello, I just had 2 cups of coffee. Like what? Here's my vice. By the way, caffeine is also a vice. I have vices, okay? So don't think that I'm perfect. It's just again, being aware, getting curious, and trying to just get better. Is anybody working on anything they're trying to get better at? Hey, Karen. It's like I saw you going to mute, girl. Hi, it's good to see you.
Yeah. So, when I'm just getting sleep, I think that's a huge thing. I mean, sometimes I'm running on like 4 hours of sleep and, it eventually kind of catches up. And at the end of the day, what I accomplished throughout the week, it's like, okay, now I have to like reset myself. And then it just sets me behind because I'm trying to catch up on, just the sleeping portion for me, I think throws me off guard, I think if I don't sleep, everything just trickles down,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
honestly, like all of this stuff is a lot. Like it's like, oh, I need to eat healthy. I need to sleep. I need my like this is a full-time job, just being a human. And then throw your period in there and throw like all this other shit that we're dealing with. I will say too, just like the last 2 weeks has been very much go, go, go for me, which is not typical. Again, it's a season. but I had so much energy in the last week. And then I drove home 4.5 hours, got in at midnight, and that was Saturday night. Sunday, I had all these activities, and then I had a dinner with my girlfriends booked. I don't know what I was thinking, but anyways, yesterday, 9 a.m., I'm driving to a client I have, and I just woke up and I'm yawning and I feel like I'm about to fall asleep behind the wheel. And I slept, right? I slept like a full 8 hours, where maybe the last week I kind of didn't. It was a little bit wonky. And I'm just like, holy crap, it's only 9 o'clock and I'm exhausted. And so yesterday I literally like put myself on D&D for 20 minutes and I took a nap. And that's not something we can always do, right? But it's like even something like that, like how do you try to get back to resetting? And I also think the energy mapping, well, I call it energy mapping, but I need to like trademark the word mapping. Anyways, knowing when you're best in your energy. So on the drive home from Arizona, Ati was with me and she wouldn't shut the fuck up, but that's okay because she kept me awake. And we joked, she knows, I think she just doesn't shut up. And I actually don't shut up either, but like she doesn't shut up. She was like, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. I have to have my quiet time. I have to do my meditation. Like I've learned that that sets me up. Me, the minute I wake up, I can't lay in bed and like have coffee like my husband does. I'm like, even when we're on vacation, I'm like, hey, what are we doing? Because first thing in the morning, as soon as my feet hit the ground, I got to go do as much as I possibly can. Because if I don't get myself in movement and momentum by 12 o'clock, I'm not getting out of bed. I'm not like, I'm done, right? So everyone kind of needs to know what works for them. There are some people that get more energy when they work out. I do not get energized when I work out. I actually like just want to go to bed. But again, like learning these things about yourself and getting curious. Another thing that I started doing at the beginning of this year is I actually started tracking things. So I have a tracker. It's called A Year in Pixels. I think I should shared it with you guys at the beginning of the year, but I go in and I track my sleep. I track my steps. I track the things that I want to start working kind of like the please method. Like, did you have a healthy meal today? And I'm not doing it to like stress myself out. I honestly, I haven't hit 10K steps probably since the beginning of the year. But I'm tracking to see like, were there days I did hit it and what happened there? And why am I not hitting it for an entire week? Like really what you track, you can control. Did anybody get my email yesterday where I said like some of the things that I got from this weekend? Which are things that I kind of already knew. But one of them is what you track, you can control, you can transform. So that's another thing. If you have some kind of healthy habit you do want to add in, like just start tracking it. Maybe if for you it's sleep, just track. Did I get 8 hours? It's either a yes or no, right? Did I fall asleep by this time? Did I wake up by this time? Maybe it's adding some tools and things that can help you with that, like getting the Aura ring. Or for me, it's my iWatch to make sure I have the steps, which I really don't think it's accurate, but that's a whole nother thing. Again, like what kind of tools can you implement in your life? And I would say pick one area. If it's your eating habits, if it's your sleep habits, it's your movement, if it's, just trying to find time to be quiet, pick one. What is the bottleneck, right? We talk about this all the time, even in your health, that you can do something and implement it to habit stack in your life. And to be honest with you, the reason why I'm so chaotic right now is because I didn't spend time doing my planning on Sunday. I didn't spend time doing my stuff that I typically do that keeps me in check. And as soon as we get off this call, I'm actually going to go back to my goal mapping method and my goal mapping week because that just helps me, right? Know what is priority. Get rid of the noise. What do I actually have to get done? What is a much later thing I need to just remove as a distraction? Like all of these are tools for us to be able to be productive. Okay, the chat's going. Hold on. I'm all y'all just unmute. Wouldn't that be quicker? I don't know why I'm saying y'all. What is this? I don't know.
Because
Let's
you
see.
love
Love the
me.
guest. Great. Okay. A few years ago, I read Fast Like a Girl because I felt my hormones were way off. I started intermittent fasting in a 30-day cycle and it was a game changer. Yeah, I've tried intermittent fasting, wasn't a game changer. I tried becoming a vegan, wasn't a game changer. Like, but you don't know until you start trying things and then you do find stuff that are game changers, right? And like that's just like in our business, sometimes we have to do some trial and error stuff. I also learned that I thrive in group exercise. Like if I just need to go to the gym and work out, I'll work out. But I won't push myself if I'm not in a room with someone maybe who's 80 who's pumping iron and I'm like, fuck, if she can do it, I can do it, right? Like it's just like I need to be in that environment. So it just depends. You learn about yourself. This year I'm focused on tracking and improving my steps and my sleep. Yeah. So one or two, I wouldn't do all of them. But for me, it's like I started with one and then I started adding another thing and I started adding another thing. And then you end up realizing it just becomes part of your life and what you do. I also was thinking about maybe either bringing Megan back or someone else just to get another perspective. But one big topic that I think we do need to talk about is also how trauma affects the way we do business. Because trauma creates stories that and beliefs that we have in our head and in our minds and how we have this lens of the way we see the world. And it 100% affects the way we do business, whether it's how you see your worth, whether it's the prices you charge, whether it's how you speak to your team, whether it's feeling imposter syndrome or, wanting to do something and not feeling like you can, or just different things that come up, right? Or being stuck in habits that keep you from getting better. One of my big things is I've always been in survival mode from when I was little, because this is super like intimate, but I had a parent who was a heroin addict who completely abandoned me. And then I had another one that was a workaholic just trying to raise me. And like, this is what I saw. And so I basically raised myself. I was always in this survival mode. And I've had to work, and I'm still working on it, to not be hyper independent, right? It's hard for me to trust my husband, even though he's never given me a reason not to trust him, because I have all this trauma. And if I didn't know this, I couldn't work towards getting better. And these are things that we don't realize also affect the way we run business. It also affects us maybe not wanting confrontation in our business and not leading properly, or different things that we're doing. So sometimes when I'm giving you tools, it's like, oh, this is all great, but why am I still not able to kind of function with it? Or why am I still falling to these habits that I have? Because they're wired into who we are. And again, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the more you get curious about it, the more you can work on getting better and eliminating the stuff you don't like that you do, so that you can be more productive and happier and, find the success that you want and figuring out what that success means to you. So these are all the things. Any last questions or things? I'd love to hear anything specific that you liked about just having a guest. And again, if you ever have any ideas of guests and things that you want. Next month, we have somebody coming in who does website, graphic art, kind of helping you with the visuals of your business. So it's going to be a little bit more tactical. She did ask me too, if anybody was interested in maybe doing like a website audit that she can go through while she's on the call with us. I think that was really cool. I'm like, you could do mine. It's really shitty because we just rebranded. I ended up just doing a website through EasyLinks. I'm like, that's not going to cut it. So that's what we have right now, but it'd be fun to see like what she thinks, especially because we're still all sort of in the same industry. But yeah, I'm excited to have the 4 calls and switching it up a bit. And there's some of you here I haven't seen in a while. So hopefully I get to see you guys more often. Next week, we're going back to goal mapping. So I'd love to know how all that's going, and we can get back to being a little more strategic, because that's also my love language. If anybody is still curious about tomorrow, we have a masterclass at 10 a.m. Y'all can join. I'm just letting you know right now, the masterclass is to get people into the membership. So you can hop off at the end, or again, tell everyone about it because it's the best. And
How long is the master class? I sent it to a friend.
Yay, awesome. We have 50 people signed up right now, and there's like 4 guys. I'm like, why am I attracting men? I mean, besides my face, but I'm like, it is so obvious I work with women. I do not understand. I almost wanted to email them and be like, sorry, this is not for you. But then I'm like, you know what? They can come to the masterclass if they give something out of it, cool, but you can't be in our membership. Like, love you, but goodbye. That's okay. You can't like keep everyone off the internet from seeing things, but Kelly, I'm actually going to be sending an email in the next couple of days. So, but if you want to know, Green Valley Ranch, because it's literally like 100 steps away from my face, and we're going to be doing it here. So it's perfect. And it's a beautiful hotel and resort. The spa is immaculate, by the way. It's my favorite spa here. So if you do end up finding some time, maybe I'll come with you. Let's go. And yeah, that's where I'm going to be recommending you stay. There are other hotels around here too. So if it's expensive or out of budget or something, I haven't checked the rates yet. But listen, ladies, if you're spending money to get here, like, spoil yourselves. I promise you that money and abundance will come back to you. And especially after the week and the time you spend here with me, we'll make sure that happens. Okay. So it's okay. All right. Cool. Well, this recording will be up. I will also attach the file for Megan's resource and then her information again in the membership. And really quick, since I have you guys all on here, if you don't mind sticking around for 1 second, I want to go to the community real quick and just show you, because I did make some changes so that you all know how to access it. And we do have a new community member that I'm excited to introduce. And I wasn't sure if she was going to make it to this call today because she literally signed up like yesterday. Let me see. Boo, boo, boo. Okay, so what I did was you'll always come to this page, right? Just so you know, these are kind of the first steps to get yourself situated. Every month we have a theme. All the calls will always be up here. So we're going to be updating it for March. And then we have the challenge of the month and any questions you have. The challenges are also here. All of the calls and meetups are here, where I did send you all a video, which hopefully that helped for you to add it to your calendar. And then this is like the main feed, and you can toggle in between whether it's the momentum or community. But under the start here, I did add links for the recordings, so you can quickly find it if you're not in your main library, and also to get access to any of the courses. So really, courses is just like the freedom levers, the goal mapping method, like any tutorial stuff we've done and recorded, like I put in more in the course than necessarily in our recording calls. The other thing is in the recordings, you will only now see only the 2 months back, because I feel like no one's going to go back and listen to 10 calls, right? But also just keeping you focused so that you don't see a long list of things. You're like, oh, I didn't listen to all of these. Doesn't matter. Just go back to the last 1 or 2, get yourself situated with what's happening in the membership and with the women. And so you'll easily find it here. Okay. Hopefully that helped answer any questions that you're like, what is this new thing? And then we will be adding soon a tab called the Vault, where we're going to have these master classes in and some other things that we're going to be putting in. So it's going to be like a resource place, which hopefully I can put in some extra templates, some extra things that are great for resources. So again, I'm kind of going with the flow a little bit with this membership because I want to know what you guys need and what you want and what's working. And then we'll just keep making it more and more robust so that you get the value, right? But the main thing is to show up every week and be held accountable and work the tools and us get more productive with what we're doing in business. So, okay. Any other questions about today's topic? No? Okay. Next week, bring all your business questions, all the things, and we'll get down to business then. Okay. Bye, you all. See ya.